Picture the universe as a vast, intricate dance, where light and darkness, love and hate, inspiration and fear are all moving parts of the same choreography. All of it, every contrast, every emotion, is governed by one powerful universal law. Today we're going to explore that law, the Law of Polarity. Join me as we dive deep into the fourth Hermetic principle and uncover how it shapes both the visible world we experience and the invisible forces at work behind the scenes. Everything in existence has two sides. Everything has poles. Every experience, every force, every aspect of reality comes with its own opposite. That's the essence of polarity. As the Kabbalion says, everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. This quote forms the foundation of the Law of Polarity, the fourth Hermetic principle. This law shows us that everything in the universe is connected through opposing but related forces, hot and cold, light and dark, good and evil, positive and negative. These aren't enemies locked in some endless battle. They're complementary, two expressions of the same energy working together to create balance and motion. This principle isn't just theoretical, it's embedded in the structure of the universe itself. But polarity doesn't stop at the physical world. It also plays out in our thoughts, our emotions, and the events we experience every day. Think about it. How can we truly understand happiness if we've never known sadness? They're not separate things. They're simply different degrees of the same emotional scale. The same is true on a spiritual level. What we call light only has meaning when contrasted with shadow. These polarities don't just coexist. They depend on one another to exist at all. The universe isn't a war between opposites. It's a dance, a rhythm of complementary energies, always flowing, always seeking balance. That's why understanding the Law of Polarity is essential if you want to understand yourself and the world around you. It challenges us to stop seeing life as a constant fight between extremes. Instead, it invites us to view reality as a cosmic tapestry where each opposing force has a role to play in the greater harmony of existence. We don't need to pick sides. We can learn to move between them to find balance within the dual flow of the universe. So how do we do that? Through another Hermetic principle, the law of vibration. But we'll get to that later. For now, just know that the law of polarity isn't some abstract philosophy. It shows up everywhere in daily life. Take something as simple as cooking. We apply heat to cold, raw ingredients and transform them into something nourishing. That interaction, hot meets cold, positive meets negative, creates change. Without polarity, there would be no transformation. Balance between the two is what makes the process work. Too much heat and the food burns. Too little and it stays raw. Balance is the key. This law also shows up in society. In politics, for example, you'll always find opposing forces, conservative and progressive, right and left. At first glance, they may seem like enemies, but in truth, they're both necessary. They act as counterweights, provoking change while maintaining structure. When one ideology dominates too much, the system becomes rigid or chaotic. It's the push and pull between these poles that allows dialogue, evolution, and ultimately progress. In the end, everything we experience is just part of a greater spectrum. The law of polarity shows up in one of the most powerful places of all, our emotions. Here we don't just find contrast, we uncover a rich and complex relationship between opposites. that shape the deepest parts of our emotional world. Love, for example, is expansive. It opens us up. It dissolves boundaries. It connects us to something greater than ourselves, something infinite. On the other hand, fear is contractive. It pulls us inward. It builds walls, creates distance, and triggers our most primal instincts to protect, to survive, to retreat. These two forces, love and fear, are at the root of all creation, and the ultimate act of inner alchemy is learning to shift from one to the other, to transmute deep fear into unconditional love. That transformation is what many call union with the divine. If love and fear stretch or narrow our perception, then hatred and passion are polar energies that ignite our emotional intensity. Both carry fire, both are overwhelming, but they move us in opposite directions. Hatred is a destructive force. It pushes away, it rejects, it tries to erase whatever it's aimed at. Passion, by contrast, is creative. It draws us in. It fuels exploration, connection, and expression. They're both intense. But one tears down while the other builds. And here's the truth. They're not as separate as we think. Emotions aren't fixed points. They're always shifting, moving from one end of the spectrum to the other, just like a pendulum swinging back and forth. The law of polarity reminds us recognizing that emotional swing is the first step toward transformation. Polarity is built into the very essence of life. We can only understand life because we know what death is. We only appreciate light because we've known darkness. Think of the seasons. Leaves fall in autumn to nourish the ground during winter, so that life can bloom again in spring. These cycles are constant reminders of the dance between opposing poles, happening all the time. Even our everyday decisions reflect this law in action. Every choice involves a trade-off. If you decide to wake up early and meditate, you give up the comfort of extra sleep. If you choose a spiritual path, you naturally distance yourself from the distractions of a purely material life. These are real-world examples of polarities working together, each choice containing both a gain and a sacrifice. There's no absolute right or wrong. There's only the flow between opposites and the conscious balance we choose to live within. At the heart of all matter in the universe lies the atom, a perfect example of how polarity is built into the very structure of reality. Inside the atom's core, we find protons, which carry a positive charge. These particles act like anchors, centralizing and stabilizing the atom. Surrounding them are electrons with a negative charge, constantly in motion, orbiting the nucleus, generating energy and dynamic force. These opposing charges don't clash. They interact, creating the delicate balance that allows matter to exist. Without this electrical polarity, atoms wouldn't form molecules, and the physical world as we know it simply couldn't exist. This attraction between positive and negative isn't just useful, it's the force that shapes everything from the air we breathe to the stars lighting up the night sky. At the core, everything in the physical universe is energy moving between two poles, and that movement is governed by the law of vibration. This law determines where that energy lands on the spectrum, and in turn, what form it takes, what qualities it expresses. One of the clearest examples of polarity in action can be found in electromagnetic waves, the very foundation of modern life, from radio and television to the internet and even our biological functions. These waves carry energy by riding the interplay of opposites. Electromagnetic waves consist of two constantly moving fields: an electric field, positive and negative, and a magnetic field, north and south. They pulse in perfect rhythm, each one driving the other forward. This dance of polarity allows energy to move through space as light, heat, or even digital signals. The light you see, it's an electromagnetic wave. The Wi-Fi on your phone, same thing. What makes them different is their frequency and wavelength, both governed by the law of vibration, working hand in hand with polarity. We live in a world held together by invisible networks, all built on electromagnetic waves. And at the core of it all is duality, the constant interaction of opposing fields. Every time you use your phone or computer, electromagnetic signals are flowing in and out. Sent, received, translated into sound, images, and information. Satellites orbiting above the Earth rely on the same principles, transmitting TV, radio, and GPS signals across vast distances. Even the electricity that powers your home is a direct result of polarity and motion. That's what alternating current, or AC, really is. An endless cycle of positive and negative flow that allows energy to move efficiently through our world. The law of polarity, when working in harmony with the law of vibration, becomes a powerful key to consciously creating your reality. Polarity shows us the extremes, hot and cold, love and fear, light and shadow, while vibration is the force that moves between them. When we understand how these two laws interact, we unlock the ability to shape our lives with intention, in tune with the universe. Polarity presents us with opposites, but vibration is the motion between those opposites. Take temperature, for example. Hot and cold aren't two separate things. They're just different points on the same spectrum. By raising or lowering the vibration, you can move from cold to hot and back again. This same logic applies to every area of life. Let's say you're going through financial stress. If you stay focused on what you don't have, complaining, worrying, seeing yourself as a victim, you're vibrating at the frequency of lack, the lower end of the spectrum. But if you shift your focus by practicing gratitude for what you do have, and by visualizing prosperity as if it's already real, you begin to vibrate at the frequency of abundance, which is at the higher end of that same spectrum. And when your vibration shifts, you naturally begin to attract opportunities, ideas, and connections that align with that abundant energy. Sound like wishful thinking? Try it. You're the alchemist, and your mind is the laboratory. Run the experiment yourself. Test it, observe, and then decide, based on your own experience, if this isn't exactly how reality works. As Heraclitus once said, "Struggle is the mother of all things." The tension between opposites is what creates movement, growth, and evolution. There's no progress without resistance, no transformation without challenge. Life in all its polarities reflects this eternal truth. The key to true wisdom is not just recognizing the need for opposites, but learning to go beyond the illusion of separation. Rather than rejecting one side or fighting against it, we're called to integrate both poles within ourselves. This is the real alchemy of the soul, the ability to navigate contrast with awareness. When challenges arise, instead of fixating on the problem, the negative pole, we can choose to see the lesson, the opportunity hidden within it. The positive pole, this shift transforms adversity into soil where growth can take root. Polarity shows up in every part of life, in relationships, in emotions, in the smallest daily decisions. But the real transformation begins when we realize we're not trapped in these opposites. We are co-creators of reality. When we become aware that everything has two poles, we gain the power to choose, to move forward, to grow. True freedom is knowing you are more than the poles you experience. You are the consciousness behind them, the one who decides where to align, what to nurture, and what to create. So ask yourself, what are you creating today? Are you feeding fear, or are you choosing love? Thank you for watching.